Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are St. Louis.
It's a doubleheader this afternoon from PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Both games on Fox Sports Midwest. Game 1 saw a scary incident with Stephen Piscotty. Thankfully, he's okay. Drama in the ninth off of one of the game's best, Mark Melancon. And the Cardinals posted a 3-0 win. In the doubleheader, Tyler Lyons goes in Game 2. A postseason hero, Michael Wacha, in Game 1. A chance at a Central Division championship. The magic number stands at 2. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Game 1 of 2 from PNC Park in Pittsburgh. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Pirates. A chance to wrap up the division. Magic number at 2. A lead of 4 over Pittsburgh for St. Louis. Injuries a part of this 2015 season. Adam Wainwright officially activated, available to come out of the bullpen today. Yadier Molina, we hope to see him in the playoffs. Stephen Piscotty, we hope to see him this weekend against the Atlanta Braves. With the Mad Hungarian Al Rabaski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to what should be a fun day of baseball. Game 1 of 2 here on Fox Sports Midwest. And for the Cardinals, a chance to wrap it all up.
And what a pitching matchup we have today. Wacha against Garrett Cole. Cardinals are going to try and win the first game right here, and they're going to do an outstanding job. But these two guys are really at their best right now. Let's see what happens.
It's two of the best young pitchers, two of the best teams in all of baseball. Cole, Wacha, Pirates, Cardinals. Magic number stands at 2. A win, and the Cardinals pop champagne. Baseball is coming up.
Brought to you by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealers for great prices on our all-new 2015 vehicles today. Chill is in the air. Playoff baseball, and good to see him back in the dugout. Stephen Piscotty, last time we saw him, he was being carted off, and we didn't know what the status may be with Stephen, but very good news, and we'll see him play this weekend. Injuries a part of this 2015 season. Adam Wainwright against Milwaukee back in late April. The right quad against Arizona for Matt Adams. In Colorado against his former team. The left quad of Matt Holliday. Yadier Molina against the Chicago Cubs. And a torn ligament in his thumb. Carlos Martinez, 7 pitches, and he was out for the season with a shoulder injury. And then 2 nights ago, gruesome collision with Stephen Piscotty, but thank goodness he's okay. That has been one of the big storylines of what could be a championship team for the Cardinals.
Of course, you could add several more little minor injuries on top of that. So this team has been so resilient, and here they are. A victory here in the first game or the second game, and they are the Central Division champions for the 3rd straight year.
That's the voice of Al Rabaski. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is also here. 61 degrees. Chilly. Football weather. Playoff weather for baseball. Matt Carpenter will lead things off, followed by John Jay and Matt Holliday. Then Jason Hayward, Johnny Peralta, Mark Reynolds, Colton Wong, Tony Cruz, and the pitcher batting ninth, Michael Wacha. On the bench for the Cardinals, some pop on the left side with Adams and Moss. On the right side, Randall Grichuk, Tommy Pham. A lot of options in late September. And the Cardinals face one of the best. He is an 18-game winner. It's Garrett Cole of the Pirates.
He's 2-1 this year against the Cardinals. The one loss was in St. Louis. It was a matchup between Wacha and Cole. He has never lost to the Cardinals pitching here at home.
The Cardinals looking to get to 100 wins for the 9th time in franchise history. And that 100th win would be a Central Division championship for St. Louis. So it's a doubleheader. Long day of baseball, could be a fun day for the Cardinals. First pitch is popped up by Matt Carpenter into shallow left. Jordy Mercer, the shortstop, called off by Starling Marte for the first out. So Marte with 15 outfield assists. He is in left field. Andrew McCutchen is in center. Gregory Polanco, 11 outfield assists, is in right. Ramirez, Mercer, Walker, and Alvarez on the infield. Francisco Cervelli behind the plate for Clint Hurdle's club, and that's presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. It was John Jay's 9th inning single on Monday night that ignited the rally for St. Louis, and an error by Polanco that led to a run scored by Carpenter, then the 2-run blast by Reynolds. Here's an 0-1 pitch. The breaking ball is in the dirt.
Good to see John Jay and feeling good enough to be in that starting lineup. Cardinals have won so many games over the years with John Jay being the center fielder.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. On the inside corner, calling the balls in strikes. The crew chief, Eric Cooper. Toby Basner is at first. Quinn Wolcott is at second. Lance Barksdale down at third. 1-2 pitch. With the infusion of young talent, it's easy to overlook the contributions of John Jay throughout the years.
That's it. I mean, he's been so good. All those championship teams, he was our starting center fielder.
It is a very sparse crowd. And the Cardinals, talking with Mike Matheny in his office yesterday, they wanted to play last night. There was no way we could. It poured here throughout the night. As Stephen Piscotty is back in uniform, the scary incident. But they wanted to play after such a dramatic win in Game 1 of this series.
Cole was scheduled to pitch today. It would have been the nightcap, and Mike Matheny, interestingly, he chose not to separate Cole and Wacha, but they're going to go after this first win right here with a fully rested bullpen.
On the outside corner, misses, and the count is full.
So it'll be Lyons and Morton in the second game. Somewhat of a bullpen start for the Cardinals.
A 3-2 pitch to John Jay. And Jay lines it to second baseman Neil Walker.
Good to see. Even though it was a line drive out, he hit that ball extremely well. And that may pay off later on in this game.
And it brings in Matt Holliday, who is 6 for 12 against Garrett Cole. Overall, the Cardinals left fielder today is hitting .283. Just 4 home runs. He's driven in 34 in what has been an injury-plagued season for him. So 2 outs and nobody on. Outfield is deep. Garrett Cole is second in the National League in wins with 18, behind Jake Arrieta of the Cubs with 21, tied with Bumgarner and Greinke with those 18. He's 4th in ERA, 2.60. Greinke, Arrieta, Kershaw, and then Cole in ERA. 8th in innings pitched at 201 this year. And another hard hit ball, but right to Neil Walker. So 1-2-3 inning for Garrett Cole and the Pirates. Michael Wacha to the mound when we come back. Innings and trying to change that here in this first with Gregory Polanco, who will lead it off. Then Starling Marte and Andrew McCutchen. Aramis Ramirez, Neil Walker, the switch hitter, Pedro Alvarez, Francisco Cervelli, Jordy Mercer, and the pitcher batting ninth, Garrett Cole. There's a look at the options for Clint Hurdle as we go on throughout this afternoon and into the evening. And Michael Wacha looks to join Garrett Cole as an 18-game winner here today. 17-6, start number 30 for Michael Wacha.
And the good thing about Michael Wacha is how well he's pitched on the road. 10 of those 17 victories have come on the road. And, of course, no one will forget October 8, 2013, when he was sensational, pitching his first postseason game right here in Pittsburgh, and Cardinals were facing elimination. And Walker was brilliant in that one, and then he went on to have the phenomenal postseason that year. And in his first full season, remarkable success.
Polanco is hitting .255. Remember, it's the age of 22 when Michael Wacha made that start and drafted just 16 months before. So very good numbers on the road this season for Michael Wacha. His time is called. No balls, 2 strikes. In that start, facing elimination with 7 1/3. Gave up 1 hit, 1-run baseball. The difference in the game was a Matt Holliday home run.
And it was a little different crowd that day, a little more hostile than he's facing right now.
Check swing. Still alive. No balls, 2 strikes. Cardinals are already assured of postseason play for the 5th consecutive year. Trying to win their 3rd consecutive NL Central championship. So he had been drafted just 16 months before. October 8th of 2013 with the Pirates up 2-1. He became the first pitcher to go at least 7 innings. Allowed just 1 hit with his team facing elimination since Mike Mussina did it. The veteran did that for the Orioles back in 1997. And then in Game 7, it was Cole, or rather Game 5, it was Cole against Wainwright. Wainwright was sensational. And a strike to Starling Marte. Marte hitting .288, 18 home runs, 79 RBIs.
You would think both these young starters are going to go out there and fire a lot of fastballs. Try to be as efficient as they possibly can.
And Marte is hit by the pitch. On 0-2. The Cardinals defensively with Holliday in left field. John Jay is in center. Jason Hayward is in right. 9 outfield assists for Hayward. It seems like every one has been big. Carpenter is at third. Peralta at short. Wong and Reynolds on the right side of the infield. And Tony Cruz is behind the plate. That's presented by Dobbs, and it brings in Andrew McCutchen. Last 13 games, McCutchen hitting just .190.
A lot of these Pirates are not swinging the bat well. You mentioned they haven't scored in the last 19 innings. They've left 27 runners on in the past 3 games. It was 16 on the 3-0 shutout on Monday night. And they're 7 for the past 40, 175 average with runners in scoring position. So don't give them any free chances here.
One ball, 1 strike on McCutchen, who is 7 for 15 in his career off of Michael Wacha, and one of the top hitters at home in all of baseball. Hits .332 at PNC Park, 5th best in the National League.
Remember, you got Marte on base there with 29 steals.
You mentioned how Lions in that start in Game 2 could be a bullpen start. We will see the bullpen at some point. You would have to think with Michael Wacha. Cardinals have been so cautious with his innings and his pitches. Once he gets around 90, you can expect him to have his day called shortly.
And remember, they were talking about a ceiling of about 180. Well, he's right there. Innings pitched.
But not a hard cap. It was a cap where the Cardinals, they evaluate it with the innings that are stressful, not necessarily the number. A 2-1 pitch upcoming to Andrew McCutchen. And Wacha walked. Marte took off towards second base. He would have stolen it easily, and it turns out to be a balk.
And Michael Wacha stepped forward instead of stepping backwards. So that cost to the balk. And as you said, he was in no man's land. Marte just picked him blind, takes off on him. And here's the crowd yelling at him. Or not the crowd, but his teammates. Instead of stepping backwards, he stepped forward, constituting the balk.
And McCutchen hitting .376 with runners in scoring position, 2nd best in the National League. 3-1.
Well, we just talked how they were struggling of late. 7 for 40 with runners in scoring position, a 175 average. But falling behind the count to a dangerous hitter, not a good idea.
Will they even get a pitch to hit on 3-1? He draws the walk. Runners at first and second, and it brings in Aramis Ramirez. Let's turn to Al's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, I think we've got all bets on we're going to win this first game. So what did it all cost? You go out there and take charge right here, declare yourself the champion. But also you want to avoid Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen. They are 15 for 34 against Waka, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. Ramirez, the Cardinal killer, is in the lineup today, and you know how well he's always hit the Cardinals.
He is 3 RBIs away from 150 in his career against St. Louis. Third most in the divisional era, so since 1969. Number 1 on that list, Andre Dawson, Hall of Famer. Number 2, Mike Schmidt, Hall of Famer, 152.
And Dan, it's a 309 average, 49 doubles, 3 triples, 38 home runs, and 147 RBIs against St. Louis Cardinal pitching. He's also 2 for 6 for the home run against Waka.
1 ball, 1 strike with 2 runners on. And Cruz out to visit early on. A part of that bullpen for the Cardinals, if you did not see the pregame show, is Adam Wainwright. He has been activated. He is available to come out of the pen. More than likely, they're talking about 1-inning stints for Adam Wainwright, but he is available today.
Waka, his last time out, got a little trouble in the first inning. There you see Wainwright. Hard to imagine be coming in today, though.
2-2.
Nobody likes that ex-starter down there in the bullpen. I think he'll be starting again next year.
Now time is called. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Ramirez. Picked up from Milwaukee, back at the place where he originally began his career after so many great seasons with the Chicago Cubs. The 2-2.
Ramirez, before the season, announced this would be his last year, going to retire, and he spent all 17 years in the Central Division of the National League.
Here since 1969, the most ribbies against St. Louis. All those guys Hall of Famers with the exception of Jeff Bagwell in the top 5.
And he probably will join them in the Hall pretty soon.
2-2. How about a double play ball? 4, 6, 3 with the double play. League Baseball, obviously, here with the National League Central Division, tight in the American League West with the Rangers, the Angels, Houston. Mets have clinched. Toronto, Magic #1. Dodgers clinched late last night. Kansas City has clinched as well. Clayton Kershaw was on the mound last night against San Francisco, and he was brilliant, matched up with Madison Bumgarner. Here's Jason Hayward. Leads the club in average at .289. To put in perspective the kind of year that Hayward has had, 32 doubles, 23 stolen bases. The last right fielder to do that for the Cardinals was Pepper Martin in 1936. Yeah, the Pepper Martin part of the Gas House game. He's had a good year. 2 big plays in game 1 defensively. Sliding catch and then the double play in the second. And a ground ball to first, knocked down by Alvarez, and he'll stay with it. Pedro's had a tough year defensively at first base, 21 errors.
Well, they bank that his offense will overcome the defensive lapses, but he'll drive in runs and he'll give up runs.
There's Johnny Peralta. Cardinals shortstop with 17 home runs. He's driven in 68. And that pitch is skied towards shallow center. McCutcheon. 2 down. And with 2 outs, it brings in Mark Reynolds. I was talking with Mark in the team hotel the other day, and I said, did you think that you got that home run off Melanson? He said, absolutely not. But sure happy I did catch it, and he said it was one of the best games I've ever been a part of.
How about that? Cardinals gave up 10 walks, and yet they win that game 3-0 with the help of that 2-run home run in the 9th.
0-2 the count. 94th start this year for Reynolds, and Lynn had to battle through 5 tough innings in game 1 of this series.
But he did. He battled through those innings and survived.
Here's an 0-2.
You know, I asked Mark Reynolds, I said, you made the right decision, didn't you? And he was saying, talking about coming here. He goes, absolutely. But chose less money, less years to come here and hopefully to be on a winner.
Reynolds fights it off, and a ground ball that's hit to first. Alvarez takes it himself, and Cole looks to be locked in here today. Midway through 2, and there's no score. today. With more on that, let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Really unbelievable, Dan, to see him back with the ball club. Piscotty is still sore, especially around the neck and jaw, according to Mike Matheny. But otherwise, and miraculously, Piscotty has checked out fine with doctors. Mike says before they start talking about Piscotty's return to playing, he still has some medical tests to pass. He says they'll do that today. Mike says the main thing, they just want to be positive he's okay. And Mike says everything points to Piscotty being just fine. And that is miraculous considering how bad that collision appeared to be.
Switch hitter Neil Walker at the plate. You had a great interview with Peter Borges, who was part of that collision. He was really shook up on Monday night, wasn't he?
He said he had to come out of the game. He just felt so badly for his teammate. He went back in the clubhouse and kept checking on Piscotty with the trainers and watching the game. He said he started to feel better. They went to the hospital, Borges and some of the players, and they saw he was actually okay, a little out of it, but upbeat, and they felt like he was going to be fine. That's when Borges started to feel better.
Jimmy, thank you. It's 1 ball, 1 strike on Neil Walker. A lot of the family members of Stephen Piscotty arrived here yesterday to go to the hospital, and some friends as well. And Mike Matheny was telling us that they found his phone in the clubhouse, and with many phones, of course, you have a password to get in. They said, well, how did you get that if he was kind of out of it? And they said, well, we did it with his fingerprint. So they put the phone up to the hand of Piscotty, got the fingerprint, that unlocked it, and then started calling his parents and loved ones to get them here to Pittsburgh. One and two, the count on Walker.
Neil Walker was 1 for 4 on Monday night, but that was his only hit in his last 11 plate appearances. A lot of these Pirates are down with numbers like that.
The 2-2. And a high fly ball into deep right field. Just over the wall, and it's 1-0 Pittsburgh. Walker with home run number 16, and all have come from the left side of the plate.
Pittsburgh native. That's a 70th RBI also. I thought that was going way out. But a high towering fly ball. Looked like it only landed like in the front row. But we are so high in our perch here at PNC Park. It's really hard to judge those fly balls, isn't it? Mislocation, wanted it away. It's down and in the middle. Sweet spot for a lefty.
Pedro Alvarez with a ground ball that comes up on Reynolds. He'll take it himself, steps on the bag for the out. So 1-0 lead on a home run by Neil Walker. And with 1 out, it brings in Francisco Cervelli, who was 0 for 4 on Monday night. He's hitting .299.
Wanted it away. Leaves it more in the middle of the plate. And Walker makes him pay. I believe that's the first regular season home run that Walker is allowed here in this ballpark.
Number 18 overall this year. So .299 average, 6 home runs. He's driven in 39. Russell Martin signed a big free agent deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. I always felt like he was kind of the heart and soul of this team, but Cervelli's done a really nice job.
Yeah, I mean, when Russell Martin came here, remember everybody used to run wild against the Pirate pitching. He kind of stopped that. He was a good leader, really kind of it's like the Molina to the pitching staff. And we thought it was going to be a much bigger loss. Russell Martin go to Toronto, but Cervelli stepped in here and provided a lot of those things that Russell Martin did.
Here's an 0-2 pitch.
They gave up Justin Wilson, outstanding young left-handed reliever, to get Cervelli.
And the 1-2. Pulled foul and a broken bat. The next strikeout for Michael Wacha will be number 150 of this season. It'll be the first time the Cardinals, their long history, have 4 pitchers with 150 or more strikeouts. Martinez, whose season is over, is at 184. Lackey's had one of his best seasons ever, 171. Lynn 165, and Walker right now at 149.
That seems hard to believe, but you just look at the Pirates, and they have Garrett Cole, who's at 200 strikeouts coming into this game, so he's at 200. And then they have a 134 from A.J. Burnett, 129 from Liriano. The strikeouts being so much more prevalent the last 40 years. Martinez leads the Cardinals, but like you said, Lackey's over there over 150. He's got the second most strikeouts in the Cardinals. Don't forget the year that Lackey's had. He has been so consistent. Dan, I don't think either one of us would be surprised if the first postseason game is in St. Louis and Lackey gets that starting assignment.
Specifically because of, yeah.
22 starts as a Cardinal in St. Louis, and all 22 have been quality starts.
3-2 pitch to Cervelli. League leader in strikeouts is Clayton Kershaw, 294. He was incredible last night against the Giants. And a swing and a miss, so there it is. Number 150 of the year for Michael Wacha.
He threw a couple of really good pitches in, and that helped set up this pitch away. Up and away, and a swing and a miss.
For Kershaw, and he's had all the Cy Young Award wins, MVP, 294. That's the most since 2002. And he's probably going to finish third in the Cy Young voting.
Yeah.
Only 42 walks to go along with nearly 300 strikeouts. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jordy Mercer.
Dan, at one time, a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio was considered good. And now, I mean, the way people strike out, and it just seems like the pitchers have impeccable control. Just how much the game has changed a little bit. I noticed it's Robin Roberts' birthday today, Hall of Famer. He had, I think it was 286 wins, but he had 305 complete games.
Changed just a little.
It's changed.
And a strikeout of Mercer. Back-to-back Ks, but a little damage done here in the bottom of the second. Neil Walker with home run number 16. Pirates with an early lead. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh. Spent 18 years as the right fielder of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we flash back September 30th of 1972. A double in the 4th inning off of John Matlack of the Mets. And then, unfortunately, in a humanitarian trip to Nicaragua, Clemente's plane went down and he passed away. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1973.
That was his final hit. Ended up with exactly 3,000 hits.
There's Colton Wong, and he shoots it down the left field line, and it's fouling out of play. Tom Walker was a pitcher for the Expos. Helped load the plane, was supposed to go with him on the trip. He was playing winter ball, and Tom is the dad of Neil Walker, who is your second baseman today for the Pirates.
Another aspect of how much the game's changed. I started a game back in 1970 at Old Forbes Field, and as I'm warming up, our pitching coach told me, he said, don't throw anything inside to Clemente. Don't even try and knock him down. He'll hit it for a rope. First time I got first 2 out, he came up.
That's back to Cole, and that's 7 in a row he set down.
Threw a pitch down the way. He got, I threw a curveball, and he got a base hit over shortstop. Got Stargell out, came in, and I said, and Billy Muffo, his pitch coach, said, "Oh, I forgot to say, don't throw him any curveballs either."
That was the scouting report, huh?
Yeah, that was it. You know, it's usually a scouting report was up and in, down the way. But for Clemente, don't throw anything at him.
There's Tony Cruz. He started 11 of the last 13 and 9 straight. Filling in for Yadier Molina. These are two of the best, not only in the National League Central Division, but in all of baseball. The last 3 years, Cards and Pirates 1-2 in wins, followed by the Dodgers, Royals, and Nationals as Cruz hits it foul.
And it's so amazing, too. You know, you look at some of the great numbers of the Pirates, and they'll always be second. And then it'll say second to the Cardinals. And wins the last 3 years, home wins, all kinds of things. These two have done great battle, and they've represented the Central very well.
Here's a 1-1. Michael Walker on deck. Cruz, the 8th place hitter. Garrett Cole, a former #1 overall pick and part of the big turnaround here for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That was in the 2011 draft. That was the year the Cardinals selected Colton Wong, number 22 overall, out of the University of Hawaii. The 2-2. That one caught Cervelli.
Yeah. That might have got his ear. Cervelli is from Valencia, Venezuela. Let's take a look at, does he turn his head?
Off the shoulder, and that ricocheted up into the ear and the neck area. With a doubleheader today, the Cardinals will have an off day tomorrow and then wrap up the regular season with 3 against the Atlanta Braves in a series that Shelby Miller is scheduled to pitch on Saturday.
And by the way, we really haven't discussed what Major League Baseball has done for Sunday. All games will start at the same time, 3 o'clock Eastern, and noon on the West Coast. A byproduct of, remember last year, Adam Wainwright was supposed to start the final game in Arizona, and minutes before, he was just started really early warming up, that the Pirates got beat. The Cardinals were the winners, and Mike Matheny pulled back at him so he'd be able to start that first game. So Major League Baseball trying to stop that type of situation happening again, and all games will start at the same time. But we'll probably have all the division races already wrapped up.
Nick Greenwood made the start for the Cardinals that afternoon in Arizona. Division races may be wrapped up, but wild cards potentially still could be alive, and in particular in the American League.
Yeah, well, we know we still don't really know yet.
In the air, out to deep center field. McCutchen going back with room just enough. Tony Cruz gave it a ride, and now it's Michael Wacha. 6 is a serious number at On the Run. When the Cardinals score 6, any size drink is just 50 cents. The next day, that's coffee fountain or frozen drinks. When they score, you pour at your nearest On the Run. You earned it. Cole has been sharp early on. 8 up, 8 down as Wacha lines it foul. Oh-2 is tapped to Cole. He'll step and throw. 9 up, 9 down to start his afternoon. West is brought to you by Jack in the Box. If the Cardinals throw 9 strikeouts, get a free Monster Taco with any purchase tomorrow at Jack in the Box. A chilly day. The skyline of the city of Pittsburgh as we move to the home half of the third. 1-0 Pirates on a solo home run from Neil Walker. A lot of pitches thrown by Michael Wacha here in the first couple of innings, so we will see that bullpen at some point of the Cardinals. The question will be for Mike Matheny, what type of situation do you want to put Adam Wainwright in? You know, if it's a tight game, is it fair to him to throw him out there then? Ideally, you'd love to have a big lead, let him settle in and make that appearance. His resume is different, though, than anybody else here at the ballpark, where you could put that type of responsibility on him as opposed to others.
Well, you know he's going to shoulder any situation that he's in, and he'll do his absolute best. I would have a hard time bringing him in this first game. The first day he's back, I think you have to save it for a little different situation. There's other guys that have gotten you to this point. But it will be interesting. It'll be fascinating. And we think he'll be on that postseason roster.
Oh, he'll be on it.
Well, I mean, if he goes out and gets shelled or something, you know, but we don't anticipate that. Too good of a competitor, and he'll will his way through success.
Wouldn't think he'd come this far with him and take this type of chance without putting him on that postseason roster. A strikeout, and that's 3 in a row for Michael Wacha.
I think ideally you clinch it today. Hopefully in this first game, then you can do whatever you want the second game. But maybe sometime over the weekend. But we also understand a lot of rain is forecasted for this weekend in Atlanta and up and down the East Coast.
Gregory Polanco grounded out to second. First time up. And a strike. That game one, the Pirates were 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position, 16 left on base. Historic in the fact that 63 times between 1914 and game one Monday, Pittsburgh had left more than 15 runners on. First time, though, Monday night, they had never scored. Incredible game.
Well, it's the first time in Cardinal history that they had walked 10 or more and through a shutout. So it was a strange game.
So strange it hadn't happened in 33 years. First time since 1982 where you've had a shutout while walking 10. 6 Cardinals pitchers through in that game. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Gregory Polanco. And a strikeout. That's 4 in a row now for Michael Wacha.
It's like the Neil Walker home run is upset Walker. There's a breaking ball, couldn't pull the trigger. A ground ball to first, and then 4 consecutive strikeouts after Neil Walker's 16th home run of the year.
Here's Starling Marte, who was hit by a pitch and then left stranded back in the first. And the first pitch is a strike, and Wacha is working at a different pace.
Yeah, you can tell he like what he's seeing right now. And with kind of the speed up rules, the Pirates can't take that kind of, he's dictating the pace and not a hitter by stepping out on him.
Here's a 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Marte, the great combination of speed and power. 18 home runs, 29 steals.
And a very good outfielder also. They do have a interesting outfield. Kind of shocking with all the errors that they have committed, but they have basically 3 center fielders playing the outfield. Marte and McCutchen both have 2 errors each, but then Polanco, who has 8. And his error Monday night was instrumental in the Cardinals getting the first run in. That ball just run across the plate.
The 2-2. Back to Wacha. We'll settle in. We've got a pitcher's duel now. Wacha and Cole. St. Louis and Pittsburgh in game 1 of this all-important doubleheader. FS1 continues to be your home for postseason action with the American League Division and Championship Series. Don't miss a moment of the drama and history. It all begins October 8th on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Keith and Kevin Conway from Cahokia, Illinois are in Pittsburgh watching Cardinals baseball here today. Lewis Kurtz is taking in baseball as well. Cole has yet to allow a base runner in this game. We're in the fourth, and the difference is a Neil Walker home run, which snapped a scoreless inning skid at 20 for the Pirates. Carpenter flied out to shallow left his first time up. He's got a couple of home runs off of Garrett Cole, 6 for 20 in his career. Our buddy Jim Edmonds is on the pregame show today, and Carpenter with 27 home runs, most by a left-handed batter since Edmonds hit 29 in 2005. And a strike.
What was Jimmy's high? I think 42 one year. Had some great seasons in St. Louis.
All the way to the Cardinals Hall of Fame for Adam Kennedy and Kent Bottenfield. Carpenter leads the club in home runs, RBIs, runs, doubles, and walks.
And boy, he's up amongst the league leaders in so many different categories.
One-two is hit down the left field line, just foul. It could have been his 43rd double. With those 42, he is tied with Todd Frazier atop that doubles leaderboard in the National League.
Breaking ball, starting to go around the plate, and he just threw the bat at it. How Carpenter goes many times determines how the Cardinal offense goes.
Here's a 1-2. 18 wins for Garrett Cole, the most in Pirates history since John Smiley went 20-8. Remember him, the big tall lefty, back in 1991. He's got a chance to be the fourth Pirates pitcher to reach 19 wins in the last 35 years. Doug Drabek, John Smiley, Jim Bibby. The 1-2 again. Did not go.
Jim Bibby was in the Cardinal organization. I remember one game he started against the Dodgers in 1973. His brother Henry was a star with the UCLA basketball game. And in that game, Bibby was just beat around so badly that a columnist said the best pitch he threw that night was the one when he hit one Dodger.
That's drilled out to right field. One hops off the wall. Polanco, a very good arm. And Carpenter in with his 43rd double this year, tops in the National League. And the Cardinals have their first base runner, first man in scoring position.
Like we said, how he goes, the Cardinal offense are going, but needs some help behind. Pitch out in the middle of the plate. He just hammered it down there. Polanco didn't pick it up initially, and that, well, he did get to it, but that's what allowed Carpenter to make that decision to go to second and come up with his double. But Bibby hit one of the Dodgers, and they said that was the best pitch he threw. And then they said it was suspect he was borrowing a ball from his brother's sport, basketball.
Jay gets the bunt down. No one at third, so Cole will get the sure out as Carpenter advances to third, and it brings in Holiday. Yet both Ramirez and Cole go after this baseball, so no one occupied third base, and now Garrett Cole with a runner at third and one out.
Ramirez, that we've seen him play very solid defense along with his great hitting. But good job by Jay. Get the ball down, and really Cole should have fielded that, but once it got by him, or he did field it. But you saw that Ramirez had to back up the play. easy for Carpenter to go on to third, and see Holiday can't drive in his 35th run.
Infield is drawn in. The outfield is deep. Holiday chops it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Matt missed 72 games with 2 different stints on the DL with that right quad.
Here's a 1-1. Fastball taken high. Holiday hit the ball sharply to second, first time up. 0 for 1.
From that infield end, the way he hits and drives the ball through the infield.
The 2-1 pitch. You think about the outfield arms, all are plus. Marte, 15 outfield assists. The most since Jose Guillen had 16 in 1998. Gregory Polanco, 11 outfield assists. That's second best in the National League to his teammate.
As good as they are, they're not going to throw Carpenter out.
But you think about balls that are hit shallow. We will see. The 2-2. The check swing did not go. Ooh, very close. Garrett Cole has 200 strikeouts, none today. The only right-handers in the history of the Pirates, in their long history, with 200 or more strikeouts are Cole this year, and A.J. Burnett had 209 back in 2013.
Yeah, I find that shocking.
Me too.
Graybeck won 22 games in 1990. You know, Bibby was a big strikeout guy in 80 when he won 19.
Infield in and a 3-2. Bouncer and a base hit into center field, and this game is tied. Past the diving Jordy Mercer. Holiday muscles it out there for RBI number 35, and we're tied up at 1-1.
You have the infield in, and like you said, a guy that hits the ball so hard through the middle of the infield, you know, you're just asking for trouble. Playing back, you know, you probably would not, Carpenter would probably go, but they'd have a chance to throw him out at the plate. But drives him in. Cardinals tie this game, now get the lead.
Jason Hayward grounded out to first. He's 0 for 1. Big play in this game, the bunt by John Jay. Many times little things like that get overlooked. Hayward hits it down the right field line. This ball is foul.
Or would that have silenced this already silent crowd? Because of the rain out yesterday and the day-night doubleheader, not a big crowd at all, but
very short lead at first, and the 1-1. Little chopper towards second, and Holiday winds up at second base safely. Did not run himself into the out in the tag of Neil Walker.
Well,
so the Cardinals have a man in scoring position.
That's how you do it. And all of a sudden, too, the Pirate, we talked about it, that's the 119th error, 22nd by Alvarez. A good job by Holiday. Try to get in that rundown, but then they throw it away. And Alvarez, we said he'll drive in some, but he'll give up some.
Well, you know, Holiday is not running well. Mentioned the outfield arms, and that could come into play with a base hit.
Now I would say they have a good chance to throw out Holiday. So you got to be a little careful if you're Jose Oquendo, but this isn't the first time he's had to protect a runner not at 100%.
Here's the 0-1. Now it's 0-2 as that caught Cervelli again.
It was significant, though, Dan, with that right quad that Holiday did stop. You know, took that quick stop, get himself in a little bit of a run day so he couldn't just get a double play. And it looks like the same place. It looks like he kind of turns his head a little bit. He does have that little guard for the ear, but.
Here's an 0-2. Into shallow right. And Polanco will come up firing to the plate, and they've got him. Throws a strike. The 12th outfield assist for Gregory Polanco. An absolute bullet from right field. Avoid the tag at the plate. A strong throw. So we talked about here from Gregory Polanco.
Well, you can see Polanco is moving in all the way, so a base hit, and he can make that throw. You know, part of the job of being a good third base coach is you're going to get some guys thrown out at times. And with 2 outs, he goes ahead and sends Holiday. Also an indication that he's running much, much better. But here's that good arm on display. He has committed 8 errors, but not this time.
So it is 1-1. And here is McCutchen. McCutchen, Ramirez, and Walker. Well, I was wondering if their outfield arms would come into play, and unfortunately, it did.
I didn't think he could throw out Carpenter from third, but I said they could.
And a base hit into center field for Andrew McCutchen. Let's check in with Jimmy. Jim.
And you guys were talking about Adam Wainwright. Remarkable when you think about it, after all those months of exhaustive rehab and telling people he thought he could pitch this year, that Adam was officially activated this morning. He says there are some limitations, 1 inning limit per game. Then doctors will reevaluate after about a week. He said they don't want him pitching, then sitting, then pitching. Wainwright obviously wants to pitch in the postseason, and he concedes this will be an audition of sorts. Dan, as Adam put it to me, quote, I'm going to go out and be me and compete. Hopefully, that's good enough.
Hopefully, huh, Jim?
He's hopeful.
Yeah. Go ahead and mark him in on the postseason roster, the 25 men.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a wink with that, hopefully.
Yeah. Here's Aramis Ramirez.
It's just that hopefully Yadier Molina with 3 weeks or nearly 3 weeks of rest, well, he will be able to be there.
Up and into Ramirez, who rounded into a double play, 4-6-3 back in the first, ended a threat. Walker at one point struck out 4 in a row.
Rounded into 23 double plays now. That's second most in the National League. Got a chance for another.
Mentioned it the other night that McCutchen has had a number of injuries, nagging injuries in particular to his legs. You might think he'd have more than 11 steals, but that's it. Outfield is deep. And the pitch is taken for a ball. 3-0, and you know Ramirez has the green light.
As a pitcher, you always have to assume a guy has a green light. And don't aim it, you know, just throw the ball with conviction.
Here's a 3-1. Runner goes, and it's taken for a ball. It's a second walk issued by Michael Wacha. Well, don't miss a minute of the postseason at Busch Stadium. Tickets for potential National League Championship Series home games to be played in St. Louis will be on sale tomorrow at noon. So get yours at cardinals.com/postseason. NLCS, those tickets on sale tomorrow at noon. So runners at first and second, and it brings in Walker, who crushed a home run. First time up to account for the lone run for the Pirates here today.
Walker had been 2 for 13 off of Walker before that home run swing. His 10th home run against the Cardinals.
Carpenter is in at third, and that pitch is pulled foul. He was ready for it.
You mentioned his dad, Tom, who pitched briefly with the Cardinals. Remember, I think he got a September call-up one year around 71. He was a left-handed reliever.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. Good changeup. Nothing into the count.
Yeah, Dan, at times, I think Walker's gone away from that changeup, and I think we all like to see him throw it more. That was his signature pitch when he first came up. Good fastball, good changeup. That was it. He's incorporated a cutter and a curveball, but don't forget that change.
And a high chopper to second base. Wong with a tag. No, they're going to say he's safe. That was Wilcott, Quinn Wilcott, who made that call, and the Cardinals may want to take a look at this, but Wong wasn't acting as if he did tag him. Mike Matheny has asked his players, if you believe you got him or you believe you're safe on a close play, demonstrate it. We'll take a harder look at it. And a nice job by Ramirez to avoid the tag.
Sometimes you see a series like this that is so important. You'd like to see a little bit more of a veteran umpiring crew. Within the doubleheader, you know, they bring in an umpire, an extra umpire from the minor leagues. There's usually the home plate umpire in the first game gets the second game off.
This is interesting to see how the Cardinals want to play this. First base open. You've got Pedro Alvarez at the plate. And he just missed him. You've got Cervelli on deck. It might be one of those situations where the Cardinals are saying, don't give him a pitch to hit. If he chases, okay. and let's deal with Cervelli, or they may just intentionally walk him. We'll see.
Yeah, if there's any doubt, just go ahead and intentionally walk him. And you can understand this move. Got a big power hitter. There's a lot of outs, but he can really hurt you with a 3-run bomb. Cervelli's a good hitter, a better hitter, but more of very few extra base power.
Third walk, first intentional issued by Wacha, and that will load him up. And that was the case the other night. The Pirates could not come through with the bases loaded against the Cardinals. They were 0 for 6 with the bases loaded on Monday night. Cervelli with the bases loaded and 1 out.
Cervelli is an outstanding hitter. Leads the major leagues with average in the 7th inning or later. But he hasn't had an RBI in his 3+ games.
So bases loaded, 1 out. The Cardinals would love him to hit into his 12th double play. First pitch did not go.
299 average, but 39 RBIs on the year. And you can see there with the bases loaded, 154 average.
Here's a 1-0. And a high fly ball lifted out to deep left field. It is a grand slam. For 4 on Monday night, but his 7th home run of the season, and it's a grand slam. 5-1 Pittsburgh. We talk about it all the time, a game of inches, and it was maybe an inch or two that Colt Wong missed on a potential double play on the tag with Ramirez. It changed the complexion of this inning. The 2-0 pitch to Jordy Mercer. That's hit out of play.
That's McCutchen and third base coach. They're calling it. They're calling it a slam. Well, we got to battle back now. That strategy did not work. Mike Matheny, who's so positive with all of his players, he wanted this matchup.
Can totally understand why he'd do it too.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, you got Wacha, who you got great confidence in. Won 10 of his 17 wins have been on the road, but you're matching up against Garrett Cole. You got basically a bullpen start against Charlie Morton, who has struggled against the Cardinals, but they wanted to win at this game, and then you take your chances with whatever bullpen you have. But should be well rested for guys to pitch in both games, though.
Pitch number 79 is taken low. 3 walks in the inning. 4 this afternoon for Wacha. And it brings in the pitcher, Garrett Cole.
Cole, like most pitchers, was a good hitter in high school. He was drafted by the Mets out of high school, did not sign, went to UCLA, but he was drafted in the first round and didn't sign. Went to UCLA, had a very good collegiate career, and then #1 in the country for the Pirates.
And that is caught by Reynolds. Back to the bag goes Mercer, 2 down. Non-stop action, heart-pounding excitement, historic performances. Don't miss the 2015 postseason beginning October 6th. To see a schedule, just head to MLB.com/postseason.
Could be a potential of the Pirates and Cardinals finishing with a tie. And another importance of this day is the winner of this day will win the series. Or if the Cardinals or Pirates, whoever were to take, if the Pirates took 2, they would win the series and they would have the home field advantage in a playoff game. Whoever wins this series. The Cardinals won the first game, though.
Here's Gregory Polanco. That tails away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Polanco has grounded out to second and also struck out. Walker struck out 4 in a row. He has 4 strikeouts in this game. But one of the issues, the 4 walks. You have to wonder when the bullpen will come in this game, because the Cardinals, again, to reiterate the point, all year long to make sure that Walker stayed healthy for the entirety of the season, have gone about 7 innings with him, right around 90 to 100 pitches, and this is pitch number 85. His spot for the Cardinals, he is due up 4th, looking ahead to the 5th inning.
If you get into a scoring opportunity, you got to pinch hit for him.
Depending how this inning finishes up, you may pinch hit anyway.
Yeah, could.
The 2-2. In the air out to right center field, and that ball is down. Cut off by Hayward before it went to the wall. A run will score, and Polanco delivers. Now he is in a rundown as Peralta gets back to the bag. 6-1 Pittsburgh. A key play. Colton Wong did everything he could to get Ramirez just out of his reach. They walked Alvarez. Cervelli, grand slam. 6-1 Pittsburgh. All right, guys, thanks. It is now a 6-1 Pirates lead. It'll be Reynolds, Wong, and Cruz. Cervelli, the grand slam to highlight a 5-run bottom of the 4th. As Reynolds chops it towards short, Mercer flips it over to Alvarez for the out. Garrett Cole has had 16 career September starts. He's 11-2, 3-1 in this September. And the first pitch is popped up. This will be Marte. As Mercer hit the deck. 2 down. Right now, nobody throwing in the Cardinals' pen.
I find that a little surprising. Walker's not at his best today. He's got 86 pitches. Now someone begins to throw, but 2 outs.
Tony Cruz fly to deep center. First time up, he's 0 for 1.
Walker is at the on deck circle. You see Adams there with putting the helmet, bat in hand.
There are 18 games today in Major League Baseball. 14 of them have some type of postseason significance. As Cruz hits another one to deep center. McCutchen is back, and it's off his glove. So Tony Cruz in with a double.
I think just a play like that, you can kind of see that his legs aren't 100%. You know, just kind of cautiously going back. He still has had room to take another step and catch that ball head high, but it gets over his head, off his glove, and Matt Adams will now pinch hit. I'm sure if you talk to McCutchen, he'd say he probably should have made that play.
Depending how the Cardinals want to do this, you keep Adams in the 9th position in the lineup, and your pitcher could go in Reynolds' spot, and we'll see. A shift is on here for Adams, and I was talking with Clint Hurdle the other day about all the shifts that the Pirates use, and he said a few years ago he just went all in. No matter what the data said, he was going to go in with the guys that do all the research with the shifts. He said so much so that he asked those guys to essentially become coaches and travel with the team and explain why they are shifting on certain players. So every game they do that. Miguel Sokolovich is throwing in the pen. Going to the count on the Pennsylvania native, Matt Adams. And Adams cranks one down the right field line, but pulls it foul. Four hits, 6 runs, and all were earned off of Michael Wacha as he goes 4 innings in game 1 of this doubleheader. 0-2 the count on Matt Adams, and fouls that back. "86 pitches today for Michael Wacha. To the count on Adams. Outfield is deep. And foul back again. That pitch at 97.
Brad has 4 career pinch hit home runs. Got one, remember, came off the DL after he had surgery in the quads and hit a home run, pinch hit home run in Cincinnati.
In the air out to shallow left center. McCutcheon. Cardinals strand a runner, their second today. Midway through 5. All Pittsburgh here in game 1, 6-1. Playoffs is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You get live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, and more. Get MLB.com at bat now. Miguel Sokolovich is the new pitcher for St. Louis. And he'll get 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup for Pittsburgh. Marte, McCutcheon, and Ramirez. Michael Wacha, 86 pitches today. Let's look at our Chevy call to the pen. It's been a good year for Miguel. Outstanding changeup. ERA of 1.63 in 27 appearances.
He's also 4-1. Remember, he got wins in his first 2, not major league, but first 2 appearances this year.
A check swing and a foul ball.
I'll tell you, 0-for-1. He was hit in the back by his first plate appearance. Then he grounded weakly back to Wacha. Sokolovich, he's really done a nice job. He had 12 major league relief appearances coming into this year. All 12 of those were back in 2012. Yeah, there's another example of how well the Cardinals scouts has been. Not just the amateur players and then being developed by the Cardinal organization, but the scouts that pick up these 6-year minor league free agents done a good job too.
Here's a 1-1. There's that changeup. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's an 8-1 win last night for the Angels over the A's. They are 18-8 in September. And they're now ahead of Houston for the second wild card spot in the American League. Houston had been in postseason play for 163 days of this season. Sokolovich, bare hands, and safe at first. Boy, Marte can fly.
Put the ball in between the white lines. You go out there and hustle, and now maybe Miguel has come up injured. Coach Conroy, the assistant trainer, on more of his ankle or knee, quad. Now he kind of pointing to. It's over here. Remember, wet ground. And he grabs right on the quad. It's with the quad injuries. He'll test it out. I don't know if I've ever heard of a quad injury, in baseball prior to this year. Tommy Pham went out in spring training. Then it was Adams, then Holiday, and he says he's okay. And Chris Conroy say, now be honest with us. Almost looked like he'd agreed that he was going to come out of the game, and then started to walk off, and then Mike Matheny said something, and he's back on the mound. Do you see it that way?
Well, I've just been watching him walk around, and I would say this: he doesn't seem comfortable.
Yeah. And I think the umpire said, "Okay, we're going to charge you with an official visit if you leave right now." Because he had said he was okay, so it's not a visit to the mound by the umpire or by the manager.
McCutchen on base twice with a walk and a single. Sokolovich did just about everything he could, including barehanding that ball to make this close, and Marte clearly safe the bag at first. Wonder if he'd want to do some running, knowing that Sokolovich's best pitch is a changeup. Even adds to the chance to steal off Miguel and Tony Cruz. There he goes.
Didn't waste any time.
Throw down to second. And that's stolen base number 30.
Been caught 10 times, but he stole that one off of the pitcher. Tony Cruz had no chance. You can see he takes off there, and he is fast. Anytime you see somebody wearing a Pirate uniform that can see they can fly, and you think of it as an outfielder, Dave Parker.
Changeup that's taken low. With a talented group back in the early 90s. Bonilla, Bonds, and Van Slyke. Now this group, very, very good. Marte, McCutchen, Gregory Polanco. 2-1 pitch with a runner at second base. And that's hit out of play. Already the 6th plate appearance for the Pirates with a man in scoring position today.
They stranded 16 runners on Monday night. Couldn't score. And here they've stranded 1 tonight. And scored 6 times already.
And a swing and a miss. McCutchen strikes out. First strikeout for Miguel Sokolovich.
Changeup, good location down and away. And Tony's still trying to make sure you're okay. And a little sky report on Ramirez.
Ramirez, when you look at his numbers, he is a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't think he would get in, but he's in the conversation.
Well, he's been one against the Cardinals.
He's bounced into a double play and walked and scored. And the first pitch is taken low for a ball.
Dan, you remember when he first started wearing the Pirate uniform? I mean, he was an easy target. He just didn't seem like there was anything good about his game. But When he went to Chicago, started playing on better ball clubs, he became a very, very good player.
Kenny Lofton was part of that deal. Randall Simon and Aramis Ramirez, the stretch run for Chicago.
It seemed like he was overweight, seemed like he was disinterested, but he's had a tremendous 17-year career, all in the National League Central.
Here's a 2-0 pitch with Marte, a runner at second base. Adrian Beltraves, also another one that you think about, borderline Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's borderline anymore. I think he's in.
Well, you just wonder how some of these players that played, through the steroid era, even though maybe no implications on them or whispers or something, but you just wonder how they're going to be treated, how fairly.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Ramirez. That ground ball that's hit to short, backhanded by Peralta, looks back Marte and makes the play. And with 2 outs, it brings in the switch hitting Neil Walker. What happens with Neil Walker after this year? Everyday second baseman since he was called up in 2010. Some around the game talk about his range at the second base bag. Would he be better suited as a first baseman? He was a catcher at one point in their system, a third baseman. He's been a very good player for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Heard rumors were never really appreciated by current Pittsburgh general manager. He's played well.
Here's a 1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. And the 1-1 with Marte, a runner at second base. A changeup, a good pitch from Sokolovic.
Yeah, and then he has a slider too, and doesn't throw as hard as a lot of the Cardinal relievers, but it seems like he can spot his fastball better than a lot of them.
Outfield is straight away. And a 1-2. Swung on and missed, and a strikeout from Miguel. 2 in the inning. Pirates strand a runner. They've left 2 on. And they lead it 6-1 after 5. game number 2 of the doubleheader. The Cardinals and the Pirates. We'll have it for you with the pregame show coming away at 5:30. And it's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Charlie Morton has had 11 starts without a win against the Cardinals. Last time he beat the Cardinals was April 4th of 2011. And since that time, he is 0-8 with a 4.76 ERA. Last starting pitcher against St. Louis with that type of losing skid was Don Carmen, who had 13 straight with the Phillies.
A lefty with the Phillies, yeah.
So here is Carpenter. And the first pitch is a strike. It's not insurmountable. We've seen the Cardinals come back an awful lot this year, 5-run lead. But when you're facing one of the game's best, it seems that way. Garrett Cole has been very good. And Carpenter launches that down the right field line, and that ball is a home run. 28 home runs. And that baby's in the Allegheny. 28 home runs for Matt Carpenter, RBI number 84, and his second hit today.
Keep on talking about how it's not insurmountable. Just got a little easier thanks to Carpenter. 28th home run, 84 RBIs. And see right here, wanted it more away. It's middle, down, and he gave it a ride. The only question, would it be fair or foul?
Up the middle, backhanded by Walker. Tough play, and the pick by Alvarez. John Jay retired.
Like this is going to be another base hit up the middle. A nice job by Walker to backhand it. Long throw and a pick by Alvarez. But look at this shot. Fair or foul all the way on a fly.
Strike one to Holiday. Picked up an RBI with the infield drawn in. Runner at third was Carpenter. That was back in the fourth to tie it up. It's now 6-2.
Carpenter now 50 multi-hit games.
I think one of the things that you take away from this game is the fact that Jose Oquendo tried to score Holiday earlier, and he was running fairly well. He's trotting down the line here as he grounds out to short. When I say well, meaning that he's not going to get hurt.
Right. And you know, and Jose does a good job of evaluating that, you know, when a runner's with even sending a guy. So I think it is a positive sign that that leg is getting healthier. And as I said, part of the job of a good third base coach is you're going to have to try to be aggressive, and you're going to get some guys thrown out. But more times than not, Jose's made his judgments have been outstanding. Best third base coach I've seen in St. Louis in a long, long time.
And he's been here a long, long time.
Yes, he has.
Jason Hayward is 0 for 2. He's grounded out to first and also grounded out to second. So 28 home runs for Matt Carpenter.
And I still love Jack Buck's comment on the very first third base coach that Tony La Russa had. And he called him one time. He said, Dr. Dvorkin. Got more guys killed at home plate.
And a base hit into right.
Here we go.
It brings in Johnny Peralta, our BJC healthcare difference maker. The Rays, Pirates, Cardinals, Cubs, and White Sox. Most games decided by 3 runs or less.
Expect this game to get even tighter.
Home run by Carpenter measured at 435 feet. As Peralta looks at his strike.
320 down the line in right field. 21-foot high Clemente wall. But he cleared it with.
Oh, 2 the count. That pitch taken high. Peralta fly to center. Then single to right on the play that they tried to score Holiday on to take the lead. He was thrown out by Polanco. And the 1-2. The breaking ball, and Peralta strikes out. First strikeout for Garrett Cole. Long home run for Carpenter. Cuts the lead to 6-2. If you're wondering, there have been 3 balls that have been hit that have hit the Allegheny on a fly. That was not one of them, but Carpenter did send it into the Allegheny. Our players to watch, presented by DraftKings. Most wins in the National League this year. Arrieta, Bumgarner, Cole, and Greinke. Enter the promo code CARDS, DraftKings.com. Here's Pedro Alvarez. Intentionally walked back in the 4th and also grounded out. Second inning of work for Miguel Sokolovich.
And a little footnote to Carpenter's home run. It was 28th overall, but his 22nd out of the leadoff spot. And that's a new franchise record. Broke Brock's 21 in back 1967.
Alvarez, a drive into right field. That'll stay in the ballpark, and Hayward is there. The 3 that hit on a fly into the Allegheny, Darrell Ward, who did spend some time here with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Garrett Jones, and Pedro Alvarez. There have been 38 total that have gone into the Allegheny, but only 3 on the fly. And big ovation for Cervelli with the grand slam back in the 4th. That home run just his 7th this year.
And remember, that came after the Cardinals walked Alvarez to load the bases. So went right-hander Waka against the right-handed hitter and got burned.
Well, you're thinking double play at that point. Alvarez dangerous, first base open, made sense, just didn't pay off. Francisco Cervelli has been beat up a little bit in this game as he's taken a couple of foul balls off his left ear. Had a foul ball off the right arm. But he's had the biggest hit in the game. The 1-1. Slicing down the line and fouled. So look at the day here with Francisco Cervelli. Medical team came out to check on him. That happened twice. And thankfully for the Pirates, he stayed in this game. Launched a grand slam off of Michael Wacha, who lasted 4 innings today. 6 runs, 4 hits, struck out 4, gave up a pair of home runs, walked 4. Here's a 1-2. Cervelli hits it out to center field. Jay is back, and it's over his head. All the way to the wall. And Cervelli trots in with a stand-up double with 1 down here in the 6th.
We talked about it, 7th inning, and later he is very dangerous. Playing shallow in center, and they get burnt. But that was a mislocation on the pitch, up over the middle of the plate. John Jay tried to get back and over his head for a 1-out double. 16th double of the year.
Here's Jordy Mercer. And the first pitch is strike. Remember last inning, Sokolovich was shaking out the leg. His thigh, his quad. Thought he may have injured it on the infield hit by Marte. That was the first man he saw, but he stayed in the game. Here's an 0-1. Lined foul and out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. The 1-2. Misses low and outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Mercer walked and scored on a double by Polanco in the 4th. And struck out in the 2nd. Line drive, and that's past Colton Wong and into center field. They'll run on Jay, who hits the cut, and a run scores. 7-2 Pittsburgh.
Mercer has won for his last 12 before that RBI, number 31. And the Cardinals got a run, but they give it right back. Now they're inches, and John Jay, inches, he would have made the catch on the double. Colt Wong would have made a catch on that one.
So 1 out, and here is Garrett Cole, who squares the bunt, gets it down. Reynolds bare hands and flips to Wong, covering the bag at first. And Mercer advancing into scoring position. If you've never been to spring training, you don't know what you're missing. Escape with the Cardinals to warm sunshine, blue skies in Jupiter, Florida on your next Cardinals vacation. For more details, visit cardinals.com/vacations or call 1-800-892-7687. Polanco 1 for 3 with an RBI double in the 4th. Runner at second is Jordy Mercer. Outfield is straight away, and that changeup is taken low. Mitch Harris starts to throw in the Cardinals' pen. The 2-0. Well, we may see Wainwright before the day is through in terms of game one, but this might give you an indication of the type of role they anticipate with Wainwright. You know, this is a big lead for Pittsburgh. Wouldn't be a tense situation, you would think, if he comes in. Lead is at 5. Ideally, you'd love to ease him back in, but with everything on the line, as I said before, his resume, they may be saving him for the tough outs in game 2.
Well, they could, but, you know, I would also be inclined to think the first time he pitches is going to be trying to get to further evaluate it, and then I think you're saving him for, you know, prime time later on after he passes the first test. It's been a while since you see Sokolovich or Harris, guys like this. Early in the season when they go 2 innings, you know, particularly for Sokolovich, you know, is okay. But when you're pitching once every week or every 10 days, then it's a little tougher going back out that second inning, especially after you have a little potential leg injury.
There's the 0-1. And Marte taps it back to Sokolovich. And the Pirates strand 2. They have left 4 on. They pick up a run. And we head to the 7th. This is the Gateway Honda home run inning. The Cardinals player hits a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And the Cardinals will have Mark Reynolds, Colton Wong, and Tony Cruz as Sean Rodriguez, very talented player that's come off the bench this year for the Pirates. Will take over at first base for Alvarez. Reynolds today is 0 for 2. Mark Reynolds playing in game number 1,253 of his career. 13 postseason games he's been a part of.
That's why he chose to come to St. Louis, because he wanted to be on a winner.
And the first pitch is a strike from Garrett Cole, who's been very good here today. Just one strikeout, no walks.
Mark was also telling us that, you know, he's gotten a lot more playing time than what he expected. With all the injuries, he's gotten extensive playing time.
One ball and two strikes. A little excuse me swing, and Cole steps and throws and makes the play. And with one out, it brings in Colton Wong. Wong is grounded back to the pitcher and also flied out to left. What might have been if he was able to get that tag on Ramirez. Did everything he could to put the tag on Aramis Ramirez, set up a potential double play. Instead, Ramirez went to second base. It went to runners at second and third, first base open. They walked Alvarez, and then Cervelli, the grand slam. And that was back in the fourth inning. Not Wong's fault. He did everything he could.
Right.
And he fights it off and lines out to second baseman Neil Walker. Make sure your baseball collection includes the 2015 official Cardinals yearbook, celebrating the history of Cardinals uniform numbers and the legends who made them famous. 314-345-9000 or cardinals.com/yearbook to get yours. Two outs and nobody on, and here's Tony Cruz. Flied out to deep center, then doubled off the glove of McCutchen at the wall his next time up. And he looks at a strike. Many times in a doubleheader, you'll see Molina start one game, Cruz the other. But in this case, this game today and what's at stake, you may see him start both ends of the doubleheader.
I think that was the hope, to win the first game, and then you could throw a lot of the kids out there. But now you're going to have to go out and play everybody again, more than likely. Your best 8.
Center field again. McCutchen is back. Looks up. This one's off the top of the wall in center. Tony Cruz wearing out McCutchen in center field. And that is his second double.
He had 4 doubles on the year coming in. And now he's 2 for 3 with 2 more doubles. Both of them over the head of McCutchen. This is about 2 feet from going over the fence. Tony has 1 home run on the year, trying to double it. But I was remarking on Monday, I was watching Tony Cruz hit in bang practice, and really playing every day. His timing is kind of getting back there to where he feels like he's got a fighting chance.
So runner in scoring position. The pinch hitter is Brandon Moss, 2 for 11 against Garrett Cole in his career. 1 ball, 1 strike. Moss was with the Pirates in 2008 and 09, along with 10, and then the Phillies.
Was that long ago, huh?
Yep.
6 different major league teams. He was leading Cleveland in home runs and RBIs at the time of his trade to the St. Louis. He has potential of getting us back in this game.
Here's a 3-1. You see him pound him in. The shift on just about every time he comes up. Any team we face, in terms of the Cardinals facing the opposition that we see, they've got the shift on for Brandon Moss. Dead pull hitter for the most part. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Hit out of play again. Good battle here. Pitch count at 99, and we're ways away from seeing Garrett Cole hit again.
Got activity in their bullpen. I mean, they have a very good bullpen, but they really have to win both games today.
3-2. Strikeout of Moss on pitch number 100. 2 strikeouts today for Garrett Cole. Four innings today. 4 walks. All the runs he gave up were earned. That was 6 of them. Carpenter 2 for 3 with a double and a home run. 2 runs scored. The lone runs for St. Louis. Garrett Cole has pitched 7 innings. Cervelli a grand slam back in the 4th. The big hit in this game. It's a new battery for the Cardinals. Mitch Harris, our Chevy Cole to the pen, and Travis Tartamella takes over behind the plate. Tartamella is 1 for 1 in his big league career. So he had his first major league hit back on the final homestand for the Cardinals, and Mitch Harris takes over for St. Louis.
Been a while since we saw Mitch. It was back on September the 17th at Milwaukee, and he got the final out of the game. Had a little trouble doing so. But there's our answer. Tony Cruz will be starting game 2, which we figured he would. So Tartamella catching now.
And the first pitch in on the hands of McCutchen, who was walked. That was back in the first inning. Singled to center and scored on the grand slam, and struck out against Sokolovich in the 5th. Outfield is straight away. Just wonder if Mike Matheny may try to find a couple of guys rest, albeit brief, in the final 2 innings with some of the regulars as well. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it can add up. Here's a 1-1 pitch to McCutchen. And a ground ball that's hit to short. There's Peralta, and he boots it for his 8th error.
Looked like a routine ground ball. It goes in there, gets it fielding, and then misconnects.
Here's a Ramos Ramirez. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Aramis Ramirez. That pitch taken high. Ramirez has grounded into a double play. That was in the first. Walked and scored in the fourth and grounded out to short. Tyler Lyons, Charlie Morton coming up in game 2 of this doubleheader today. Pre-game show at 5:30, so a quick turnaround as time is called.
We all know the strange route that Mitch Harris took to get to the big leagues. 29 years of age, selected in the 13th round of the 2008 draft.
And the 2-1 is hit out of play.
And then after graduating from the United States Naval Academy, he had to serve 5 years of active duty, still was a lieutenant in the Navy on reserves, and didn't start pitching until what, 13? 2013 was with State College. Last year he started in Palm Beach, got up to Memphis, and first taste of the big leagues this year, 26th major league appearance.
The 2-2. Pulled foul. By winning first game of the series, the Cardinals do have the luxury, if you want to look at it that way, of being able to rest a Tony Cruz or maybe some of the others, where Clint Hurdle cannot do that. I mean, they've got to play this thing out all the way through.
Dan, it's very difficult to win a double hitter. Very easy to split it.
The 2-2. And a swing and a miss. Strikeout of Ramirez, first of the afternoon for Mitch Harris.
He's got that split finger pitch along with about a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Went straight down. That's something you'd like to see. His strikeout to walk ratio is not very good. Wanted to see him throw more strikes, but that was his 14th strikeout to go along with 13 walks.
1 out and a runner at first. And a line drive into center. There is John Jay making the catch. Walker retired. And it brings in Sean Rodriguez.
Done an outstanding job, as you said, a utility player, play all over the diamond. Made 100 appearances on the year. This is 100 appearances at first base, 16 games in left field, 14 in right, 8 at third, 7 at second, and 3 at shortstop.
And the first pitch is taken for a ball.
He's hit very well against the Cardinals, too. Dad Johnny is a coach in the Cardinals minor league system, and this kid, you can tell he's well schooled. Very good defensive player at all positions.
Here's a 1-0 pitch from Mitch Harris. 1 ball, 1 strike. Could get 2 innings out of Harris, and essentially your bullpen stays intact and ready to go for game number 2 of the doubleheader. That would include Adam Wainwright. We bring him up a lot, but you can understand why with the great success that he's had. One of the premier pitchers in all of baseball.
He's defied the medical odds to already recover from the Achilles surgery, which at the time was talked about as almost like 12 to 18 month recovery time.
And a 2-1 pitch from Harris. Tapped foul. Left-hander's been throwing in the pen for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've got Bastardo, LaFramboise, and Tony Watson, who's been one of the most effective lefties for years, out in their pen from the left side. Two and two the count. Very short lead by McCutchen at first base. On the outside corner, and the second strikeout for Mitch Harris sends us to the 8th. All Pittsburgh here in game 1. Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio. Pat Bear is standing by with a Bomarito Sports Update. Pat. New pitcher is Antonio Bastardo, and a new third baseman is Josh Harrison. Most importantly, though, there he is, Adam Wainwright, getting loose, and he will pitch the bottom of this inning. The Cardinals will find out what they have to an extent with Adam Wainwright. So, you know, if you're thinking about getting him into a game, this is a perfect situation to do it. Cardinals trailing 7-2. Not a lot of pressure, and get him back out there.
The biggest thing is get him out there and then see how he recovers. What it's like the next day, and as you said, you might not have the luxury of bringing him in a game like this, and then you can make that decision whether over the weekend more important role, or we both think that he would end up on the playoff roster? Either way.
Let's just say it is shocking just to even see him warming up.
Exactly. A good kind of shock.
You bet. So here is Matt Carpenter, and the first pitch is taken for a ball. So Cole, 7 innings, 7 hits, couple of strikeouts, no walks, gave up a home run and 2 runs. Bistardo in relief here in the 8th. Big day for Matt Carpenter with 2 runs scored, a double and a home run. His home run, a long one that cleared the seats in right, bounced off the hill and into the Allegheny. His 28th, as he has scored 2 more runs today. Came in 5th in the league in runs scored. He's now up to 98. Number 1 in that department, Bryce Harper at 117.
He's the 20th time that he scored 2 runs in a game this year, and usually when he does that, the Cardinals win. The record is 17-2 when he scores twice.
Garrett Cole made his debut back on June 11th of 2013. If the Pirates hold on, this will be his 40th win since that time. And it's a who's who on that list. As Carpenter strikes out, in terms of the wins list, only Kershaw, Greinke, and Bumgarner have more wins since Garrett Cole made his debut.
Stardo's had an outstanding season for the Pirates. And we talked about Justin Wilson was traded to the Yankees for Cervelli, and they picked up Bistardo. We'd seen him with the Phillies, but I don't think we've seen him as effective as he has been this year.
Here's Tommy Pham. He's pinch hitting for John Jay.
What a month of September Tommy's had.
And yet he hasn't played a lot here in the last week or so.
No.
That may change in game 2.
Since September 15th, Tommy is 2nd in the National League with an .800 slugging percentage, 3 home runs, 3 triples, 2 doubles, a .375 average. And we've seen lately, after that success, a lot of off-speed pitches, but the biggest thing he can do is to help himself is not to chase him out of the strike zone.
The 2-2 pitch to Tommy Pham. 2 strikeouts for Bistardo.
Interesting that Holiday is still in this ball game. Probably be replaced in the field after this at bat, but still a good sign seeing that he's in this game for his 4th at bat.
Picked up an RBI back in the 4th. And the first pitch is taken for a strike. Tried to score on a base hit by Peralta, which would have broken a 1-1 tie. Scoring from second base is Jose Oquendo sent him, and Polanco gunned him out with a strike to the plate. So you come away out of this game with knowing that Holiday is running better. Not great, but better. And you'll get your first look at Adam Wainwright. Late with that swing. He's been through so much, but you know there's still the butterflies and the emotions of coming back from injury. He's probably got those right now. The 0-2. Spoiled by Holiday.
Just remind me when you're looking at Wainwright standing there in the bullpen. You know, he can go out and become a reliever once again because he doesn't warm up like most starters. very few pitches. You know, he can get loose very quickly, where a lot of guys need all that time.
He's also the kind of guy, too, that when he's in the starting rotation, sometimes he'll skip the bullpen sessions, or if he has one, it might only be 15 pitches.
And you can see he's throwing the ball with conviction there, but a lot of times in between innings, he just goes out there and play catch. Doesn't use much effort at all.
1-2 pitch. Back to Bastardo, and the Cardinals go quietly here at the top of the 8th. A sight that many of us have been waiting to see. Big number 50 in his return in 2015. Adam Wainwright to the mound when we come back. Time that Adam Wainwright appeared in relief was the 2006 World Series. At that time we saw him striking out Brandon Inge to close out the World Series. No one except Wainwright anticipated pitching again, seeing him pitch again in 2015. Wainwright, the famous breaking ball that froze Carlos Beltran in the NLCS. Brandon Inge, the strikeout of 2006. And here is Adam Wainwright.
Adam activated from the disabled list. It was his left Achilles. He's missed 141 games since April 25th. He's made 4 starts, 2-1. A 1.44 ERA. His last relief appearance in the regular season was September 30th of 06 at Milwaukee.
And the 1-0 pitch. Be interesting to see the velocity for Wainwright.
Well,
many guys, they come out of the bullpen, they know they can just let it go, where a starter doesn't necessarily have to do that. And then you couple the fact that he's trying to build up arm strength too, although he says arm strength not a concern.
Well, remember too, he's so crafty and knowledgeable, he can get by with less.
There's that signature breaking ball.
But I think it is an interesting point on the velocity, because back in 06 he was probably throwing 94, 95.
If not harder.
And then you talk about now as a starter, we've seen him, and you by design a little less, but more 89, 90. So see how we can get that velocity back up for 1 inning.
On the outside corner, welcome back Adam Wainwright.
With a 94-mile-an-hour pitch painted.
St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Boy, is that good to see.
Yeah, very good to see. Look at the determination and confidence right there. Jody Mercer.
Pretty nasty cutter right there.
And that's why he can throw those other pitches and doesn't need the much velocity, but 94 plus his weapons, secondary weapons, is great.
0-1 pitch is a line drive into right field. Hayward, a sliding catch, and holds on to make the play. 2 down in Wainwright's return.
You're also going to get some great plays behind him, too.
Fox Sports Midwest is proud to support the BJC Friends of Wings on their Raise the Roof campaign. Features the chance to purchase unique playhouses designed by local artists, including one sponsored by the Cardinals. Please visit raisetheroof.org. Here is Josh Harrison. First pitch, a ball. Harrison started in game 1 of this series. And that pitch taken a little high. 2 balls and no strikes.
I hope we don't regret using him in the first game, the way he's throwing.
The 2-0 pitch. And Harrison pops it foul and out of play.
A welcome sight for the Cardinals. Of course, if he didn't miss 141 games and about 30 starts, how soon would we have this thing wrapped up?
2-2 the count.
They all know how important this is psychologically, having Adam Wainwright and what he can do for their chances to go further into postseason.
Now time is called. Tartamella is setting up on the outside portion of the plate, just as he did with Cervelli, and Wainwright painted that corner. Spoiled by Harrison. Close enough. He had to protect the plate. Again, the Cardinals have talked about it. Wainwright, 1 inning, and that's it here today. Breaking ball, and Harrison lifts it down the right field line, and foul out of play.
And you just have to think that's along with the medical staff and doctors saying, you know, that leg can't be as strong as it should be, and so you don't want to have fatigue set in, trying to extend it and then make that leg even weaker. So 1 inning's good enough.
Just wonder how many teams would bunt against Wainwright as Harrison lifts a high fly ball into center. Pham spun around. One hops off the wall. Harrison will stop at second base.
Well, your point being, Dan, is, you know, they're going to try and test that. But remember the outing the other day, he threw here on Monday afternoon, and it wasn't so much about pitching. It was more about backing up bases, the ability to go and field your position, cover first base, covering bunt plays. And at that point, they said, okay, you passed all the tests. Fastball. Harrison gives it a ride, stays in the ballpark. 2 outs, he can pitch around it. And see, he hadn't forgot which base to back up either. Some of our guys have forgotten that.
So 2 outs, and here is Gregory Polanco with a runner at second base. And a ground ball hit to the right side, under the glove of Wong, and a run will score. It's a base hit, RBI, and 8-2, the lead for Pittsburgh.
Second RBI, then A for Polanco. His second base hit. Just a seeing eye base hit through the right side that stuck underneath the glove of Colton Wong. Not hit particularly hard, but the location was perfect. 2 outs. Harrison off the races.
There's Starling Marte, and a ground ball hit to the left side. Force play at second base, and great to see the return of Adam Wainwright. Big number 50 back out there. His return in 2015. Pirates pick up a run. Wainwright returns. 8-2, Pittsburgh.
Done, but we did see Adam Wainwright throw a successful inning. They got a run off him, but that to me doesn't matter. You saw good velocity, you saw him throw strikes, and that's a plus in this game. Now we got to come from behind. So Jared Hughes, the new pitcher, is appearing for the 74th time. He's been their solid setup man. 237. Opponents are batting 285 against him. Been charged with just 8 runs in his last 47 games. 170 ERA during that time, Dan.
Very nice play by Hayward on that sliding catch to help out Adam Wainwright. It's a big lift for this club to see him back out there.
I think psychologically, same thing. You know, if we get the clearance for postseason play for Yadier Molina.
And a ground ball hit to the right side. One away. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the account and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. A game that got away from the Cardinals back in the 4th inning with Michael Walk on the mound. Intentional walk to Pedro Alvarez, loaded the bases up. Then Francisco Cervelli a grand slam in the 4th.
Well, Mike Matheny chose to go for game 1 win. Of course, the Pirates have to win this doubleheader just to keep from being eliminated. You could see after you won game 1 of the series that you would have let them have Cole for the first game here and save Walker for game 2, but Walker really wasn't vintage himself.
The one thing I was really looking at with Wainwright, velocity. Could he hit location? That is a foul ball. But also just his delivery and how he was able to use his legs.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no problem, was it?
No, it looked like vintage Adam Wainwright.
So I said, even though he gave up a couple hits and a run, no big deal. He was throwing strikes. The velocity was at 94. Saw some good curveballs, pitches. So, I mean, all things considered, I think I'm sure he'll get a more high leverage situation next time out.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. I think one of the questions will be, at what point can you use him back to back?
That will probably be a ways off.
Here's a 2-2. And Peralta singles into center field against the shift.
His second hit of the afternoon.
Let's take a look at our Budweiser player of the game, and it's Francisco Cervelli with his grand slam, 2 for 4. Also a couple runs scored to go along with a double. In steps Mark Reynolds. Very short lead at first by Johnny Peralta. And a high fly ball lifted into right center. There's Andrew McCutchen. Check that. They've got Marte in center. So there's 2 outs. And the final hope for St. Louis is Colton Wong. Wong backs away from that pitch. He's been hit 15 times. Little chopper to the left side. Wong will not beat it out. Tough play, and the Pirates take game 1 of the doubleheader.
Well, we got 1 to play tonight. The second game of the doubleheader. The Pirates with the victory today. They're 3 games behind the Cardinals with 4 to play. I'll still take the Cardinals' chances.
Full postgame show coming up. Pat Barris standing by with Jimmy Ballgame. All the stats and highlights. 8-2 the final in game 1.